Today I'm trying something completely different. I'm actually reviewing a mod for Skyrim. I don't normally do that sort of thing, and English isn't really my first language. You can probably hear that. So this might be a bit awkward, but I'll do the best I can, and we'll just have to see how it goes. So why am I doing this? Well, personally, I was really impressed with this particular mod. It's called the Oblivion series, the Gate of Solitude, and as the name implies, it places an Oblivion gate right in front of the city of Solitude. Now, I've stepped right through the gate. You can see that here. I'm fighting a bunch of Dremora. The creators of the mod suggest that you play this on the highest possible setting, like, you know, master difficulty and without any companions. Personally, I like to take things easy. I'm playing this on the adept setting, and as you can see later on throughout the video, I am using companions. And I still think it's incredibly challenging. Some of the battles, especially the bosses, are really hard, and I had lots of fun doing it this way. But if you like to take things a bit more hardcore, be my guest and try the master difficulty. Tell me how it goes. So about my character, I'm about level 52 or 53. The guys who came up with the mod suggest you have to be at least level 45 to even think about coming here. There's a whole lot of customized weapons and armor on this character, which might look deadlier than it really is, because it's really just, when you look at the stats, it's on par with Daedric stuff, maybe Ebony stuff. The enchantment is nothing fancy, it's a simple life tap, so nothing cheaty going on here, nothing fancy. It's really just for looks. But yeah, as you can see at the beginning of the mod, there's really just a whole lot of random Dremora attacking you in melee. So once you reach this level in the game, you'll probably have, I don't know, 80% physical resistance. You just won't take an awful lot of damage in melee, it's the way it is. So, but don't let that fool you, because later on the game gets incredibly difficult. Now, what you might have noticed when looking at this video is how the textures, the actual artwork, doesn't actually look very much like the Oblivion gates you might know from the game Oblivion, which is simply because those textures, those meshes aren't included in Skyrim. So when the guys behind this mod created this Oblivion gate, they couldn't just rip all of that stuff from Oblivion. They had to use whatever is there in Skyrim. So you have to cut those guys some slack. I think they've done a terrific job, considering how they really had to work with, you know, what's there. They didn't, of course you could say, okay, they could have come up with some textures from scratch, but you know, it's two people creating those dungeons, and you can't really expect them to hand paint brand new textures and everything to make this look a little more like Oblivion. So I'm not gonna get into this anymore. Let's face it, if you're a total purist who wants everything 100% accurate, you're not gonna be playing this mod either way, simply because you probably wouldn't want any Oblivion gates in Skyrim. So, speaking about people who would not want this mod or this video in question, if you want to experience the whole thing for yourself without spoilers, then this is probably where you want to quit watching, because this thing is going to show you a whole playthrough. You'll see where all the keys are located, what the bosses are like. If you'd rather not have any of that spoiled, then this is your chance to turn off. Now, as you can see, I'm running around this tower like an idiot, trying to figure out where the gate is. It's actually on the other side of the tower. I had a bit of difficulty actually locating the entrance, simply because it's very dark in here. Even if you're not using some fancy ass E&B setting or anything, it's very dark. It's hard to see where you're supposed to go sometimes. I had some trouble figuring out where the entry is to that tower. Problem is, you need to get inside that tower, because as you can see here on that bridge, there's a big fat gate in the way, and that gate is locked. And doing the obvious thing here, just fighting the person right in front of it, won't get you anywhere, because she doesn't have the key. I actually kind of like that, you know. The guys who made this mod placed the keys in chests and in places that were obvious enough to reach, and because, you know, let's face it, I've had dungeons in Skyrim where the keys were on some random bad guy. Now if you're fighting 5 or 6 guys all at the same time, and maybe you use your dragon shouts and you blow them all over the place, it's just tedious having to search through every stupid corpse to locate that one key you're looking for. So I think they've done a good job here putting them in chests and, you know, doing some other freaky things with, well, you'll see it later. They've done some clever stuff with the keys, let's put it that way. So yeah, right now I'm trying to figure out where the hell I'm supposed to go. That was the problem with the tower, as mentioned earlier. Another thing you will notice throughout the game is that the journal updates several times. There, now I'm skipping to the part where I get to the tower. So the journal for this particular quest is written as though your character was writing it, you know, himself. It says, I have to do this, I have to do that, as opposed to the usual quest log stuff you get, like go there, go do this, go do that. Your character says, I have to, I don't know, kill this and that dragon and stop the Daedra and blah blah blah. One bit of criticism I have with that is that the writing is relatively poor. Like I said, English isn't my first language, and I'm pretty sure that same thing applies to the guys who made this mod, but let's face it, every free text editing software comes with spell checking nowadays, and there's a whole lot of friendly, helpful people among the Skyrim community. Maybe next time, you know, just ask for somebody to help you polish those quests a bit. I know I'm nitpicking here, but the reason I'm saying this is, you know, this mod is absolutely incredible. This is one of the coolest dungeons I've ever seen, and you don't want to, you know, you don't want shoddy writing to harm the fun here. And personally, I like it when my mods feel like they're actually part of the game, like it's not some freaky low quality third party stuff. So, you know, the writing should be at least be similar to the actual in-game writing, so you can't tell straight away, okay, that was some random guy who came up with that because he was bored and had 10 minutes to come up with quest text. So yeah, but enough about that. You probably won't care a whole lot unless you actually spend a whole lot of time reading all those texts anyway. Once again, you can probably see the dungeon at first glance doesn't really look all that different from any other Skyrim dungeons, the red glow aside, because once again, that's what's in the game, that's what the construction kit has to offer, and if you don't want to come up with brand new textures from scratch, and this is what you have to work with. However, if you look closely, you can see that there's a whole lot of skulls and, you know, Daedric artifacts all over the walls and ceilings, and you know, it does still create a very eerie, a very scary atmosphere. I think they've done a really good job at that. It still stands out compared to the regular dungeons. I like the style a whole lot. Some of you might say, okay, this still looks too much like, you know, a regular Skyrim dungeon, but come on, it's two people creating those dungeons. I think, you know, we should be realistic here. You can't just go and, you know, come up with something completely brand spanking new that's never been in the game before, because it would need a whole lot of people to do all that. You need somebody, you know, who does all the artwork and everything. So yeah, let's not even go there. But once again, this, you know, all those fun little skeletons and spines and everything lined up on the wall, I think that looks pretty neat, pretty cozy. I think the Dremora are just happy with this place. Now, here's one bit I've particularly enjoyed, and that's a locked door to the left here. Once I stop drooling over the artwork, there we go. And the door is locked. Once again, the key is not on some random bad guy. And it's not as obvious as it might seem at first glance. There's the chain, so you think, oh, duh. But the gate doesn't do anything. That's when I realized that a bridge appeared out of nowhere. So I stand on that bridge, and before I know what's going on, I fall on my face because the bridge disappears. So basically what you do is step on the bridge, grab the key that appears out of nowhere, and if you're stupid like me, you fall on your face again. Another thing you can try is just full throw the crap out of the key and spend 2 hours searching for it. But yeah, basically you'll just want to be very careful, step on the bridge, grab the key, and somehow manage to get back before the bridge disappears. One thing I particularly enjoyed about this mod is how, you know, those big fat battles whenever you reach a new milestone somewhere, like, you know, I found that key, I'm on top of the tower now, and there's a whole lot of bad guys, and you really have to fight your way through. Now this looks a bit easy, of course, because once again, this is just a dead difficulty, and I've got 4 or 5 companions helping me out. I'd imagine if you play this on master setting without any cheats or god mode equipment and you know, all by yourself, this is probably gonna take a whole lot of time to get through. I'm not entirely sure I'd enjoy that a lot, but you know, if you're that kind of guy, then why not? Use your chance to get your ass kicked really hard. This is probably a lot more difficult than anything you see in the regular game ever. So there you have it. And once again, the quest log updates. And basically, yeah, it does what it should do. It tells you what to do, where to go. I like that. I mean, you know, instead of just giving you 1 or 2 entries, it constantly updates. I can appreciate what the designers have tried here. And look at this effect when you step on that platform. It's just really cool. They've done a whole lot of really freaky stuff with the editor. And yeah, I mean, look at this. Okay, once again, horrible journal entry. This dragon has to fight before to eat my soul. What? But come on, once again. I've been moaning about this enough already. I'm sure it's easy enough to fix if you really care. Most of you probably won't give a crap. So, regardless, there's a big, freaky, ethereal dragon for you to fight. This is just what this mod is full of. You know, you get teleported somewhere, you fight some big fat amount of baddies or some massive boss, and stuff just hits you by surprise. It's not just all waiting behind a door or something. It doesn't give you the time to prepare. Sometimes you just, you know, stuff just happens. You have very little control over that. And this just adds to the atmosphere. Because, you know, sometimes you don't know what's going on and stuff hits you by surprise. I really like that. It's very unpredictable in places, but, you know, not in a way that it's somehow frustrating or makes you feel like you have no control of what's going on. You should just go with it and enjoy the ride. So this is when I finally got the key to cross the bridge. So that's where the main part begins, and this is where things get a hell of a lot tougher. So yeah, I've had people on the forums telling me they had to spend 7 or 8 hours beating this thing. I mean, if you look at this playthrough, it's a little more over a half hour. So I'm not sure, maybe once again they've been playing on super high difficulty without any companions or whatever, and of course that becomes a lot more difficult. I'm not sure how anyone could possibly take 8 hours to beat this, but what do I know? Now look at this. Just look at it. This is absolutely amazing. Once again, sure, so it doesn't look 100% like a proper Oblivion game, but come on, you gotta put, you know, you gotta show those guys some love. Look at this stuff. They've really made an effort here, and I think it really shows. So yeah, if you don't like that kind of stuff, you know what, screw you. I think this is some pretty good stuff, and seriously, how can anyone not love this stuff? It's unique, it stands out, it's unlike anything else you'll see on Skyrim, so kudos to that. So once you're inside the main building, things do pick up a lot in terms of difficulty, like I said. And things also get a lot darker. I'm very lazy. I'm using the wearable lantern is what it's called, I think, you know, the bug lantern, and night eye and all that, but it's still very dark. You should probably, you know, they do provide you with a nice amount of torches, They're scattered throughout chests and whatnot. So you should probably use them because sometimes it gets so dark you don't really know what's going on here. And this is particularly nasty, but there's a whole lot of spellcasting Dremora hidden inside that particular bit. You can't actually get there until later on, so there's nothing you can do about those guys unless you stand outside and, you know, shoot right back at them. It's probably just smarter to just ignore them for the time being. At least that's what I did. Left them to my companions. I have to apologize for the laggy bits here and there. It's just, you know, when you have 4 or 5 year old hardware and you're filming and babbling and doing all at the same time, it's a bit taxing on my old machine. But the most important bit is that you actually get to see the actual gameplay. So there you have it. This Jamor Lord is one particularly tough cookie. We've actually lured him out of his throne room. You can see that now, and just look at the artwork in it. I mean, yeah, okay. Once again, if you look closely, that's actually modded Daedric greatswords. That's because of a mod I'm personally using. Normally they look like regular greatswords, Daedric ones. The throne, the top bit, is made of that unique Daedric hammer, Volendrung or whatever. So they're really just recycling stuff that already existed in the game. But come on, look at what they've pulled up with it. I think it's really incredible. And once again, the key is located in the chest, so you don't have to spend hours and hours looting random corpses. The actual setup, that confusing tower in the beginning of the game aside, is very logical. It's, you know, the pacing of the dungeon is nice. You don't find yourself spending hours and hours looking for some stupid gate or for a key. For as long as you keep your eyes open and know what you're doing, you really just, you know, enjoy your time on there exploring and playing through the whole thing, fighting your way through instead of just backtracking over and over again. I like that. There's some clever puzzles here and there, but it never gets too confusing. I never found myself getting stuck and having no clue what to do. I did, however, have to reload on several occasions simply because I got my ass kicked really hard. You see it on those guys. Basically, if you're on your own, you don't have any companions, they'll just shout you to bits. And there's a really cool breathing and heartbeat sound effect going on in the background. You probably can't hear it right now in the video, but once you get there in the game, this is really creepy. They've done a kick-ass job there. You know, just by adding some creepy sound effect, it adds so much for to the atmosphere. It's really amazing stuff. Now this is just, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, it's so dark. If you're not as lazy as I am, you'll definitely want to bring a torch, because otherwise, by the time you finally realize you're being attacked, it's probably too late. I'm pretty sure that YouTube compression ain't helping here, because you probably can't see anything right now. It's a bit less stressful in game, but yeah, basically you'll want to bring some kind of light source, maybe at least a night eye or something. random generic loot. Here's another bit that confused me a bit. So there's an altar with a heart on it and more freaky artwork made from existing weapons and skulls and stuff. Took me a while to actually find this little box down there. But that's where you find the key to open the next door. So that's where we're heading right now. And once again, it's super dark, and I'm falling for a very fun trap here. Look at that effect, look at how that mist turns all red and suddenly I'm surrounded by bad guys. So, as far as I know, that thing is absolutely good for nothing. You don't actually need to pull that chain, you don't need to kill those guys. Is in no way related to your progress through the dungeon, but at this point you don't know that. You know, it's kind of it's like that button with the big fat do not push sign. You'll just want to pull it anyway, and that's when you get attacked. I think that's a pretty fun feature. I was pretty surprised when that happened. Definitely a cool idea. But as you can see, it doesn't teleport me anywhere, it doesn't do anything. I'll get hit in the face by a door. Random assorted potions. And off we go. I'm ignoring some of the baddies here. As I mentioned before, I'm pretty lazy, so I like leaving some of them to my companions when I don't have to fight every single one of them. And here's one of the bits I mentioned earlier. Look at this. This is absolutely awesome. You know, it doesn't actually do anything to the dungeon. It has no special meaning to it or anything. It's just a fun little effect that freaks you out. It's what I mentioned earlier. Stuff that, you know, just makes you lose control of your character for a bit. You have no clue what the hell's going on. It, you know, gives it a bit of a theme park ride kind of feel, without being excessive, without being totally over the top. I like how the guys who made this mod played around with the construction set and said, you know what, let's give it a try. Let's use some of this stuff simply because it's there, because it's possible. You could see that they're having fun with this, they're playing around with it and trying some new stuff, and I really like it. I can appreciate that. So here's another locked corridor, locked corridor even without any obvious keyholes or chains or buttons. That said, once again, you don't ever have to do an awful lot of backtracking or anything. Most of the stuff is pretty obvious. That said, the map for this particular mod is absolutely useless. You can't really hold that. Oh yeah, there's the chain for, you know, where I got stuck up earlier. You can't really hold the shitty map against the guys who made the mod, simply because, you know, it's an in-game thing. Those get created automatically, and there's nothing you can do about that when you make your own dungeon. So if you ever get lost, you might be a bit screwed, simply because, you know, the map does absolutely nothing for you. And once again, grabbing the torch and not actually wearing it because I'm such a lazy bastard. Don't be like me. Just use the torch and you'll know where you have to go. Here I'm skipping my pathetic lockpicking skills. This bit basically tells you what's going on. This prisoner has figured out what all this Oblivion stuff is all about, where those gates are coming from, what you know, the Dremora are planning. But if you're interested in why there's suddenly Oblivion gates popping up in Skyrim, then yeah, you know, they came up with a bit of a background story there, so it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Of course, once again, it's not really all that lore friendly, but you know, they only had so much they could do with the setting, with the construction kit. So yeah, you can't really hold that against them. And we're in for another boss battle, which I'd imagine is probably pretty tough if you do it on your own. This Dremora Keeper here is incredibly tough. First of all, I'm gonna get rid of that guy. And as you can see, this guy can really take a beating. I'm whacking away at him like crazy, but he doesn't really care. So I'll admit I'm probably ruining this boss battle a bit by, you know, having companions here taking care of it, and I just blatantly ignore the guy and loot the chest. Some nice enchanted stuff right there. And down he goes. Now comes a bit that probably is a bit weird, not really perfect just yet. You can see here everything's falling apart. Oh my god, we're all gonna die. This plane of Oblivion is, you know, dissolving, and we need to get out of here as quickly as possible. So of course I'm not climbing all the way down through the tower, but I'm, you know, I'm jumping down the cliffs trying to save my ass, because you can see that everything is shaking, and you know, there's flashes of lightning, and you'll just want to get out of there, which up to this point I really like, because it creates a sense of dread, a sense of panic. It makes you want to save yourself. It, you know, of course nothing's gonna happen if you just sit in your ass for 5 hours, but you want to go with it, and you know, it's make-believe, it's fun. I really like that. There's a fun little bug with those Dremora, by the way. Sometimes they use bandit voiceovers and talk with things like, you know, Victory or Sovngarde. Once again, it's another one of those limitations within Skyrim. There's nothing the guys behind the mod can do about it. It's just the way it is. It's not really game breaking, it's not a big deal. Of course, it's a bit silly when you see Dremoras talking about Sovngarde, but what the heck. And that's when, in my opinion, the pace gets a little screwed up. So I'm running for my life, I'm trying to save my ass, and as you could see, the gate on the bridge is locked all over again. So I have to run all the way back and explore yet another tower. You might remember this bit. This is the room where all of those Dremora were attacking me earlier with fireballs and stuff, and I couldn't get in. This is basically because, you know, they were all hiding through a second entrance, which you actually don't discover until this part, unless of course you try to get in there earlier. So yeah, once again, just a reminder, the whole world is crumbling around me and I need to get out, and everything is shaking and falling apart, and I'm sitting here with a bunch of guys and hacking them to bits like nothing else is going on. I've got absolutely no other problems. this is one hell of a battle. You don't want to get killed by the last 2 or 3 bad guys and start all over again. So be sure to stock up on potions. As you can see, even with all those companions, I'm getting hurt real bad. Now the weird thing is, when that last guy goes down, there's this lengthy puzzle bit. Before I even get there, I've skipped this part on the video. There's some stairs where you get teleported back and forth until you actually have to, you know, until you figure out where the game wants you to go in order for you to reach this room. Before that, you just get teleported back to, you know, where you started. And once again, plane of Oblivion dissolving, everything crumbling and all that. Times of the essence, trying to save my life. Why am I solving puzzles all of a sudden? So yeah, I get teleported to some freaky mountaintop full of floaty skulls. And this one is the biggest dipshit ever. He's a Dremora of Doom. Now, if you're stupid like me, you'll shout him into what I'm guessing is the lava because of the effects right now on the whole, you know, Oblivion plane dissolving. It looks black, but as you can see, he's losing health. Now I'm stupid enough to wait for the guy to actually come back. And look at that. That's over 500 hit points gone in pretty much one hit. So I'm drinking a potion. Before I even get a chance to hit the guy again, he's doing it all over again. I'm healing one more time, but it's all for nothing. Look at this. He just chops my fucking head off. So basically what I did, I just shouted him back into the lava and, you know, made sure he didn't come back out, and he basically killed himself. And yeah, once you're done with all that, you get into this final chamber where the switch is hidden that opens the gate on the bridge. And that weird heartbeat noise you hear in the background is an actual sound effect that you hear in this particular part of the dungeon. I think it's really cool. Bit creepy perhaps, but I guess that's the point. Now what you won't see in the video, the switch that's supposed to unlock the gate on the bridge doesn't actually work. I've looked at the comment section for the mod on the Skyrim Nexus, and they said they fixed it by now, so I guess it's no longer an issue. When I played it, the gate simply remained shut and I had to cheat my way through, but normally if you know, pull that last switch, that's it. You get through the gate and that's the end of that. And one thing I really like is, you know, when you finish this dungeon, when you get out of there, the portal just disappears and your game looks entirely untouched. You know, gate is gone, everything's back to normal, it doesn't screw with anything you do, it doesn't break anything, and that's something I really like. Okay, so it doesn't really look a whole lot like Oblivion from the previous game. We've already been there, but come on, it's 2 people doing this thing, and you can't expect them to hand paint brand spanking new textures to please absolutely everybody out there. And I think what they've done with what's there in the construction kit is pretty amazing. They've used all those body parts and weapons and, you know, Daedric artifacts to create a whole new unique atmosphere that you don't see in any other dungeon in Skyrim, and they use all kinds of freaky new crap I've never seen before. Like, you know, all of a sudden you find yourself falling into a burning pit and you think you're about to die, and suddenly everything goes back to normal like nothing ever happened, and you just think, what the fuck's going on here? I like that. That's brilliant. That's really good stuff. And so is floaty keys and bridges that suddenly disappear and make you fall on your face, because it makes you think, but it's not too difficult. You know, there isn't an awful lot of backtracking involved. You don't have to spend hours over hours trying to find that one door you've missed or some stupid key on some stupid corpse. It all makes sense if you're at least somewhat intelligent and you know what you're doing. It isn't that hard. The really difficult bit obviously is the combat. I think it scales alright. I've done it on the medium difficulty setting with companions, and for the most part it was perfectly fine. It was tough, but not frustratingly so, with the exception of the utterly cheesy Dremora of Doom. Guys, come on, what were you thinking? Dremora of Doom? Seriously? You can do better than that. Give him a special name. Name him Prince What's-His-Cock or whatever, but come on, not Dremora of Doom. What's going on with the boss that can just chop my level 53 head off in a single blow? I mean, it's one thing having to figure out some weakness or a strategy or something. It's something else. Some guy just walks up to me and kicks my ass, and he's just, that's just cheap. And it's even sadder that I can just shout his ass into the lava and just stand around and wait for him to die. Yeah, not the best boss battle ever. Another thing I didn't particularly enjoy is how first you create this sense of dread and fear and panic and everything just blows up around me. That's awesome, don't get me wrong. I even think that all of a sudden when you think you're about to reach safety, the gate in front of you on the bridge is locked all over again. That only adds to the whole sense of panic and oh my god, I gotta get out of here. But then you force me to spend half an hour solving some silly teleport riddle on a stairway. I can appreciate what you would do in there. Teleport me back and forth until you figure out how I'm supposed to climb those stairs, how you want me to do it in order to get to the next room. That's all nice and neat. But the thing is this, I fight my way through another 50 or so bad guys. I get teleported to some freaky room full of floating skulls. Then I have to find some hidden switch and I have to read a note that tells me where the switch is and all that. That's all nice and well, but it completely destroys what you've built up 5 minutes earlier, where everything looks like it's gonna blow up any second and I have to get out of there to save my ass. What happened to that? All of a sudden I'm sitting around playing Professor Layton and solving puzzles and shit. Seriously, those puzzles are good. I'm not complaining about those. I just question your placing for those things. Put them somewhere earlier in the game, or make me go to that particular spot, to that extra tower somewhere earlier or something. That's all nice and well, but don't do it just when the whole thing breaks apart. Or for that matter, just put that final boss after all those puzzles and that whole explosion sequence and all that. Put that at the very end, so I still have the feeling that I actually have to just run away, maybe even ignore the fights and all that, just find the quickest way to the exit and get my ass out of there. No puzzles, no lengthy battles or anything, just make me feel like I really have to run for it. That's my personal bit of criticism here. But other than that, I think this was really an exciting ride. It was a terrific dungeon, great job there, and I think seriously, if you have a bit of an open mind and you don't get off to stuff that's 100% lore friendly, I mean, this clearly isn't, no matter how good a background story you come up with. Give it a try, download it. I'll put the link in the description of this video, and just see for yourself. It was definitely one of the most enjoyable mods I've seen in a long while, and by all means endorse it. Let's face it, there's so many people doing really crappy recolors and retextures of existing armors, like, I don't know, this white Daedric armor, golden Daedric armor. It takes 5 minutes to do that in Photoshop, even if you have no idea what the fuck you're doing. And they get 100 and more endorsements in 5 minutes. Now those guys have spent so many hours creating this incredible dungeon. Give it a try, and if you like it, give them the thumbs up. It doesn't hurt, and I think they deserve to be on the top mods for a bit, so people can see what some of the guys are doing with the construction kit, and that you can do more than just repaint a set of armor.